Oh, baby, what I would do for a video, honey, because I was just turned another angle and my camera was completely like dark. So I said, let me turn the camera this way. That way I can have all the light to me so I can make the video. So if you're going to judge me on another day. Just don't pick today to do it. So I'm actually in the parking lot now. I know I'm not supposed to be drinking a Coke, but your girl is drinking a Coke. I'm trying to figure out how every time I come post up in this parking lot to make my content, how he make his way outside. Sir, you think I'm cute? Yes or no? Yes? I'm not interested. But anyway, I'm eating some French fries and drinking a Coke. And I don't know. I know I don't need both. But I'm going to eat both. So, I made a video yesterday. The video that I made yesterday, I look back and never uploaded. I looked a mess, but I dropped a lot of gems in that video. So I'm going to remake the video right now. I might have to cancel the upload from yesterday because, girl, I was looking a mess. I mean, not that I'm looking much better now, but the lighting was horrible. At least right now, I'm getting natural sunlight. I'm sitting in the car. I don't have any makeup. If my face looks a bit ashy, it's because I forgot to put on my moisturizer while my face was air drying. So I'm a little, I hate to say it, but I feel like I'm a little tacky right now. But it is what it is. So, the video that I made yesterday that never uploaded, I was talking about how you can consolidate and use leveraging tactics to up your credit score, up your assets, up you as an individual. What do I mean? I'm going to try not to make this video super, super long, but I'm going to go back over the things that I talked about yesterday because I don't think it's fair to y'all for me to have dropped such great gems. And just because I have to remake the video, not redrop them. So, first thing I was talking about was I've been wanting to sell my car for a while. I've told you guys this. Maybe I haven't because I keep a lot of stuff to myself. But I have been looking to sell it for a while. And I said, one of the greatest things you can do, especially like if you own your car or you're close to paying your car off, you can pay it off, do whatever your circumstance, the money you make from your car. Yes, some people take their car and they trade it directly in. Other people, they don't. And let me tell you how you can literally go from either bad credit or I don't use my credit or I need to build my credit overnight. The things you could be doing, the things that I'm doing to do this. And I'm going to tell you, okay, so when I make my content, y'all know that I'm making content to show you guys how I'm bossing up. I'm not making content to show y'all how I'm perfect because nobody's perfect. In the process of my boss up, I'm sharing tips with you that I'm using that you could potentially use to help your business or to help you as an individual. Now, being a boss, everybody likes that word, but really being a boss boils down to really using your brain, using your mind, and being able to create avenues of residual income, avenues of assets. And sometimes you have to have a game plan on how do I do this, right? So let me tell you one way that I know that I'm about to be doing it right now. So first things first. Say I sell my car, right? He's still set on going the wrong way. I sell my car. I can trade. Or I can just have them write me a check for my car, depending on what I want, right? So the strategy that I want to use, sell the car, get on your credit report, and I've already done these steps, so let me tell you what the thought process was, just in case you want to take this exact method. If you don't, then pick and pull apart what I'm saying because it can help you too. Where's my credit status right now? Well, when you own your things or you don't have an auto open loan, a mortgage open loan, or whatever type of loan because you own your things, you're not showing the credit that you are actively using it. Nothing's reporting. Maybe a secure or a credit card or a credit builder loan here and there, but you don't have active revolving credit. You're basically going off of the strength of, well, I own my stuff. Well, that's great. Y'all hear me say it all the time. I know everybody loves Glorilla, but when sis said, don't give no F about no credit score, I might be rich as F tomorrow, she was talking about her. Y'all don't adopt that mindset. I get it. The concept of what she's saying is, I'm not going to need credit if I got the money to buy what I want to buy. But let me tell you, even if you got the money to buy what you want to buy, being successful is about leveraging. Being successful is about assets. Being successful is about being able to put your stuff literally at a place where you are able to like make your money work for yourself. So if you're making your money work for you, then you're going to want to be putting your money into things that are going to make it make sense. I.e., putting your money into assets, like I said. So, how can you do that? What's some things you could do? If I sold, and let me tell you, while it might not be a bad thing that you're like, oh, I'm not using my credit, or oh, I could pay things off outright, I don't need to use my credit. I'm not saying that that's not a luxury, because that is something that you could buy. And then from whenever you purchase that product, like if you purchase a home and you don't put any money down, like you don't have a mortgage and you just buy that house outright, obviously everything that you make if you get a renter is a profit, right? That's a great thing. But credit-wise, it affecting your credit, that's what's gonna not really show up, because you don't have a mortgage, or you own that car, so you don't have an auto loan, so there's nothing reporting actively every month. Credit is about being able to obtain it and being able to use it, but to use it properly and it be reported great history. The best thing you can do when you have no credit or bad credit is to begin to rebuild it by reopening things, or maybe opening things for the first time if you've never done it. Auto loan, personal loan, unsecured loan, they all fall within their own categories. So even if you went to go get an unsecured personal loan from your bank, it's almost like, okay, cool, that's an unsecured loan, personal, but that has nothing to do with an auto loan, a vehicle, right? So an auto loan, a personal loan, those loans are different categories on your credit. So you want to be able to understand first that no credit oftentimes could be worse than bad credit, because bad credit shows history. It just might not be the best, and it might make that person more risky. No credit shows what we don't even know what you're capable of doing. It's like a report card with no grades. Have you ever gone to class? Or you got the report card of the person who has a C or the B. We know at least they tried. Wasn't always successful, but they tried. It's the same thing with credit. Credit is your report card. You don't want to keep failing, okay? So the way to do this for my people who have no credit, people who have bad credit, people who are rebuilding credit, whatever the circumstance, oftentimes you may see your credit score seems to be stagnant. Well, you don't have any credit cards, you don't have any loans, you don't have anything that's going to up your utilization or show your history. So what you want to do is you want to go from that stagnant standpoint and you want to skyrocket. That's why when you pay things off of your credit, your score goes tremendously up. Why? Because that's the only thing on there, and anything that moves downward decreases in value or decreases in money, you will find that the credit score will go up, because the utilization, which is your usage of how much you're allotted, goes down. If you're given a credit card of $500, three $500 credit cards, right? 3 times 5 is 15. So you have a limit of $1,500. But if you only use $100 out of $1,500, then your utilization of that $1,500 is $100, which makes it look good, because it's like, oh, you're not even using that much. You're allowed to have this limit, but you're using the bare minimum. You're using 5% or under 5%, right? So obviously that's going to make it look better in terms of your credit report. So let's just take it back to the thought that I was just having, because this video is going to go a little bit longer, because I feel like there's so many gems that I could drop. If you don't have time, just click out. Make sure you subscribe if you're interested in my content. And if you are interested, feel free to replay this video. Feel free to comment comments in the comment section. Feel free to do whatever you want to do, because I'm really dropping gems that could help. So let's get back to the car situation. So say I sell my car, right? I could trade out and get into a newer car, or get into a different car. And maybe, who knows, the trade value could be equivalent, so I have to pay nothing over. The trade value could be less, so I get a refund. The trade value could be like, give me more, but I still have to put more money on top of that trade value. There's so many different things that I might have to do depending on the circumstance that I choose. Or if I don't want to trade anything, I could say, cash me out. Give me a check. And then I get the check and then I bounce, right? So in the event that I did that, I get the check and I bounce, we're looking at a situation where now I got that money in my hand. What are you going to do with that money in your hand? Are you going to go splurge? Which for me, no, we're being disciplined. Or are you going to say, let me take this sum of money and let me apply it to the goals I've already set? If you set the goals that you have before you sell the vehicle, it makes sense. Because let me tell you, this is how you consolidate. Consolidation is a form of bringing multiple loans into one. So, for example, I used the example yesterday in the video that never made it to the net. If you had 10 student loans, you consolidated them. You made them one loan instead of 10, because you consolidate. That's what the word consolidate means, to bring them together, right? You bring them into one loan, then it reports one time. And if you say you were doing bad on all payments of all 10 of those loans, but you made them one, well, now it looks like you only got one loan. And if you've been doing bad, it looked like you were doing bad once, not 10 times. And then if you bring your score back, or if you start doing right, then it looks like you're doing good on one loan instead of having to fix 10. That's great for that aspect. But if you have 10 loans that are in deferment, they never were set for repayment, and they're popping up on your credit, that's something that you might not want to consolidate, because it's going to show that you have made 100% repayment history. It's going to show that you were 0 times late. That's showing and reflecting positive history, even though there's 10 different accounts. So in my opinion, I leave that, because that's what's giving your credit strength. The fact that you have all of these loans that you've never been late for, you've had 100% repayment, but it's because you're in deferment, because you're furthering your education. Right now, I'm doing a doctoral program, right? My doctoral program allows for any loans that I've ever had to be in deferment. Why? Because I'm in school. Once I'm out of my doctoral program, deferment goes away and you are back into repayment. So you have to set up a plan for repayment. So for me right now, that looks good. So if I have 5 or 10 random loans, I would leave them because I don't have to pay anything. But if I consolidate them, that's only one loan, that's only one reporting. Whether I do good or bad, it's going to report that many times. So the best thing to do is to keep them separated instead of consolidated. Now, like I said, if you're doing bad and you're in repayment, you might want to consider consolidation, because it puts it into one instead of having you look bad 10 times. Instead of it embarrassing you on your credit report 10 times, let it embarrass you once, okay? Because basically what will happen to those other 9 loans, once they become one out of the 10, one will become a loan, and them other 9 loans will appear on your credit as paid off, satisfied, paid off as agreed, because they become $0 balances because they're adding to that one loan that you have. So if you had $2,000 loans for 10 loans, 10 $2,000 loans, but you make them one, that's 20,000. So instead of it being, it'll look like all of those are paid off, and you only have a $20,000 loan. You have to see how it makes sense for you. I keep saying bring it back to the car, but I keep going into different points, but bring it back to the car. So at this point, I have already created a list. Let me show y'all. I've got my notebook, and that's why I'm sitting in the car, because I'm going to be making phone calls. I've already created a list. This is my little notebook. It's got my credit. What I did was I downloaded my credit reports. Equifax, TransUnion, Experian. And I looked on there to see what was on there. I looked on there to see what was my revolving accounts, mortgage accounts, installment accounts, other accounts, personal info, inquiries, public records, and collections. I looked all that up, right? And I wrote down any information that might have come from any 3 of those bureaus that I needed to know. Phone numbers. I started making arrangements. For example, this is another point I need to make before I continue. Okay, so a good question to ask when you're repaying a debt. A lot of people say, oh, don't repay old debt, it'll fall off, or oh, it'll start the history over. If you have debt that's been on your credit a year, that's like the younger the credit factor, the more it has a hit on you. The older, the least it will impact you. Most things fall off the credit 7 to 10 years. If you have something that falls off the credit in 7 years and you're on year 6, yeah, you might want to wait till next year to let that fall off. Don't even worry about it. But if you have something that's affecting you that just went on your credit 6 months ago, baby, that's got to stay on there for another 7 years, 6 years. You might as well just settle the debt so that you can have your score reporting over the next 6 years as a $0 balance opposed to carrying a balance for that long. So you're going to want to rectify that. But the one question I like to ask when I call my credit bureau people or call the collection agencies or whatever the case. Hey, I see that my account's with you. Yes, it is. How much is it for? Oh, it's for $750. Oh, it is? Yeah. Okay. Well, I just wanted to know, if I pay this balance off, will you guys remove it if I pay it in full? No, we won't remove it. It's still going to report on the credit. It's just a report as paid, as satisfied, agreed, $0, and we'll send you a letter. That tells me if you're not going to remove it paid in full, then I'm going to settle the balance. Why am I going to pay you $750 when I could settle with you for $400 and get the same result? $0 paid off, right? Now, I know paid in full looks like, oh, you paid your full balance. Settled looks like, oh, you only settled. But if it's going to report anyway, why would I give you $350 more? Now, yes, sometimes paying a balance in full will get you a higher score because you get more points for paying it in full sometimes. Okay, y'all, so the camera ended up cutting off because the temperature got too hot. So I'm going to just record like this. So basically what I was saying is, yeah, sometimes paying a balance in full may yield you more credit points. And sometimes paying it in settlement, it might yield you not so much, right? But it still will yield you points by having the balance taken care of. For me, if I'm trying to save money, but I'm also trying to make it make sense, I'm going to pay the lower balance. I'm not going to pay $800, $750 when I could pay $400 with you and get the same results. I'm still going to get a settlement letter. I'm still going to have the balance down to $0. It's whether or not it's going to say settled or paid in full. But if I call you and I say, hey, if I pay this balance off in full, will you remove it from the credit? And you say yes, but it has to be paid in full. I'm paying it in full because I want it deleted off of my credit. I've had that happen several times, balances on my credit or something like that in the past. And I'm just like, look, I'll pay you in full. I didn't even know that this hit. I'll pay you in full, but I need it removed and I need a letter to show that it's removed. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah, so you have to make it make sense for you. That's the questions you need to be asking when you call these companies. You need to say, hey, I have a balance with you. I need to know if I pay this balance off, will you remove it from the credit? If they say no, think about, do you want to settle it or do you want to pay it in full? If you want to settle it for less the balance, that makes sense to me. If you want to pay it in full because you just got the money to pay it in full and you just want it to say pay in full, then do that. It's up to you. Just make sure you're asking that question. Because if there is a, yes, we will delete it, but it's only paid in full, then you don't want to settle an account like that. You want to pay it in full if you want it removed. So that's something that I'm saying, because you have to know how to really finesse this, okay? And I don't even want to use the word finesse, but you have to know how to work your power of knowing how to negotiate. So yesterday, I was able to get a balance go from $750 to $400 something, right? And I set it up on an installment of 3 payments. Granted, I could pay that off and pay that out, but I set it up on the 3 payments because I might want it to show reporting history of promise to pay. But at the same time, I set it up like that as well because you don't want to overcommit. You might say, oh, I want to pay this $400 balance, and then next week you have something that comes up that costs you $400 too. So you might want to be like, I'd rather pay $164 a day than to pay, $500 basically today. So yeah, I would recommend set it up in installments. As many installments they give you. So if they give you 3, they give you 6. Set it up like that. And if you can pay more, pay more. If you can't, at least you set it to the maximum installment, the minimum payment. Make it make sense for you. When you set it up in installments as well, it gives you the opportunity to have other balances set up in installments. So say that you have 5 different accounts that you need to pay off. If you have 5 different accounts that you need to pay off and you say, oh, well, this one account, I want to pay $400. Well, imagine if you have 5 accounts that you set up a payment arrangement for. At least you don't have to pay $500 every, you know what I mean? In this instance, you could probably say, let me set up installments for every one of them. And by the time you pay all 5 of those on the same day, you will be equating to the same amount that you would have spent on one arrangement, right? So that's smart if you want to do multiple things at multiple times. But she said I was able to get that to 400. So within the same phone number, there's another account that I know that I just found out about not long ago. And it's a small balance, it's $116. And I guess it went to an agency and I never knew that. And I called them and she said, yeah, it's $116. I said, okay, cool. Well, I want to set up an arrangement. Because let me tell you, when you set up your arrangements, don't think to do it in the same day all the time, okay? Yeah, you could pay it and let it be done in the same day, but sometimes you might have to go back and tweak some things based on your set of goals. You just want to get the commitment there. You want to get the arrangement set to show them, hey, don't do nothing further. I'm going to commit to doing something. So get the arrangement set. Doesn't mean you have to go through it within the same day. So she said, oh, it's $116. I said, okay, well, if I pay the $116, will you remove it from my credit? And she said, no, it'll just report as zero, but it will report as paid as agreed. I said, okay, well, let's settle that balance instead. I said, what settlement option do I have? She said, oh, we could do it for, what was it, 90 something or $80, $81. And I said, oh, that sounds good, but I already know that you have the ability to do it about 50% the debt, somewhere around there. I said, so what are we talking now? And she goes, first of all, she was very impressed by my education of this credit stuff, not being a credit expert, but being someone who has routinely went through credit factors and figuring things out myself. So she goes, okay, let me see what I can do. She goes, oh, $69.60? And I said, yeah, that works. Mind you, there was a period of time I worked in debt collection, so I'm not too ignorant of certain debt things as well. You know what I mean? Like, I'm already well adversed in my knowledge, but also, sis, I used to work in debt collection. So I know certain things that I could say and do and have done. So she said, okay, let's do it for $69. So we went from $116 to $69. So I set up an arrangement as a one-time payment for $69, and I set the date. And I'm going to have her auto drive. Mind you, this is why I'm telling you, don't pay it in the same day, because you might want to go through all of the things that are affecting you to figure out what arrangements you can make. And then you might go back and say, hey, I actually can do this one today. Or you could say, hey, I could change the date to do it sooner or later. Like I said, you want to get the commitment on paper. You want to get the commitment in the system. You want the commitment on a recorded line. That way they don't move further with any furthering damaging, anything that's going to further damage the reputation of the past due balance. So once I did that, I ended up calling my other places. So I set that balance, and then there was another balance that they had in their account. But by the time I found out about the other balance that they had in their account, I said, okay, how much is the balance that I have for, X, Y, and Z? And she's like, oh, there's no balance. So in that situation, I had a $0 balance. Because I had a $0 balance, there was nothing left to pay. There was nothing left to do. But at the same time, I said, oh, will you send me a letter in the mail that's going to show that there's a $0 balance? So in the end of the day, it's almost like you always want to keep track of what it is that you have going on. You don't ever want anything to be word of mouth. Like paper trail, contracts, those are the types of things that are going to always create the file that you need. Those are the things that are going to save you when it's time for you to do whatever you need to do. So outside of that, I ended up writing down everything that I had going on. So anything that I saw on those credit reports, I wrote down. So I wrote down the name of the institution. I wrote down the balance. I wrote down the account number. I wrote down the phone number and the age of the account. Now, the age of your account does make a difference. You never want to close an account that has the oldest age. When you do that, you make the age of your credit look newer and newer and newer. The longer the years are on your credit, the more it's going to make you look credit worthy. If you have 3 accounts, one for 6 months, one for 2 years, and one for 8 years, and you remove the 8 years, then it's going to make the 1 year and the 2 year average, which if you do 2 divided by 1, you get 2, right? Hold on, y'all. Hold on. So you already know that 2 is divisible. Basically, if you take a year and you take 2 years and you divide that, you're going to come up with that year, right? So you're basically going to, that's not a good example. Let me take that off. Let me give you some different years. Let's say one account is 2 years, because I want to make you understand a little bit more. One account is 2 years, one account is 6 years, one account is 9 years. And you take away the 9 years. Well, you just took away the one that had the most history. Now, the 2 and the 6 account, normally to create those years, it's almost like you're going to almost look like you have 3 years of credit instead of, because it's almost at that point, they're probably going to divide that. If you're a credit expert, you can speak on that in the comments, because I think that's how that would work. You would basically be dividing, like, you would basically be whatever division you get from the number of, that's what determines your age. So you will be adding all of those and dividing them by, for example, I think, hold on, I got all these messages. Y'all, let's move on from that thought. Let's just move on, because it's kind of irrelevant at the moment. But all I'm basically trying to say is you don't want to take away the accounts that are the oldest, because that gives you the most history. And then you don't want to take away the account that's second to the most history, because that's the second most. If you was to remove the 9-year history and remove the 3-year history, or remove the 9-year history, remove the 6-year history and keep the 2-year history, now you've taken out 6 years of history, 9 years of history, and now you're only dealing with 2 years of history, which makes you a newer, you look more risky because you're newer, opposed to the 9 years that it looked like that you've had credit for. The older the account, the better. The positive the account, the better. So you kind of want to go from there. The next thing that I would say, once you do that, like I did, so I've got all these balances right here in front of me, all the account numbers, everything. I'm in the car, I'm making this video, but I'm also going to follow up, and I'm going to call all these places to figure out what we could settle. And I'm going to set up dates to pay them. Then once that's done and I figured out everything that I have to do for the credit stuff, then I'm going to think about my personal life. What do I need to pay for my business? What do I need to pay for my home life? What do I need to pay for when I'm ready to move? And I'm going to get those quotes and numbers from different people. In the period of time in which I sell my car, I might want to get a rental just in case, until I'm ready to jump into a new car, which would make sense, because when you get a car rental or you decide to Uber after you sell your car, you're able to use what you sell your car for, pay down these debts, allow them to reflect that following month. And then before you know it, if say you're sitting at a 570 credit score, you could skyrocket to maybe a 700 by next month, because you've settled these balances, you paid them, and now they're reporting zero. So at this point, you have nothing in collections. At this point, you have nothing that you owe. At this point, you're starting your credit history over, but you don't owe anything. So they might be looking at the past history, but let's talk about the now history, where everything is $0 and I'm rebuilding. Then you want to start reintroducing things. So I told you guys I introduced a credit builder back. I'm reintroducing that. So now I'm going to have the credit builder loan where I'm paying monthly, $25 monthly. It's reporting to all 3 bureaus. That's positive reporting history. And then eventually, when I get my next car, I'm going to pay, and I'm going to get a very small loan outside of what I sell my car for. Why? So that it can report as an auto loan. Do I want to have a car note? No. Will I have a small amount to pay? Yes, if I get it approved. At that time, I'm going to take whatever amount they approve me for. I'm probably going to take that little amount and make it a car payment, so that I can show I can make my payments every month. I can show this can be done. That way, your girl will now have an auto loan. I will have a credit builder loan, and I could start reintroducing things. I might be able to renegotiate with these cards that went into collections. Hey, I had COVID, I was sick, I let the cards go. If you notice the history of every single thing that ended up being affected, it all happened at the same time. So that tells you, like, this person went from paying to a decline. Why? Because of a health factor. Okay, not so bad. She's not as risky as we thought. It might not look as good that you neglected your responsibilities when you were, out, like, nearly feeling like you were going to die. But at least it looks like it was a decline at one time. Not like, oh, you've always been inconsistent. That's what you want to be doing. Making it make sense. So for me, I'm making these videos to show you guys how you can boss up and create assets. I already have financial portfolios where, stocks and bonds, those are things that you could be creating positive interest as well, which we will make a video on how you could create greater assets and how you could be paying to make your life a lot easier, how you can put your money in positive interest bearing accounts that are going to yield you positive interest opposed to sitting them in a regular savings account that does not yield any interest. If you put it in an account where you're going to get dividends back and you're adding to that account every time, say that the dividend rate is 4%. You're getting 4% every month off of that amount that you have in the account, whether it's $100 or it's $1 million. Would you not want a return on your investment, aka an ROI? So we got a lot to talk about, but this video has already gone long. This video was really about telling you guys how you can actually sell your car, pay down the things that you owed on your credit, pay up the things that you need to pay, watch it reflect by the next month, Uber or get a rental car for about a month so that it can reflect. Normally when you pay, you won't see it reflect into the following month. So that's why I keep using the month logic, the month or two, right? Once that thing starts reflecting, baby, you're going to start seeing that score just jump, 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 jump. Don't get too excited to where you start putting everything in your name again. Putting all this stuff. Get excited? Yes. Once you do that, start applying for stuff. Slowly. Like me, the credit builder self, I will put a link in the description whenever I get home to do it. But that link allows you to create a credit builder without pulling your credit and like everybody's approved. All you got to do is pay like a deposit. $5, $10, $15 or something to get started. And by next month, it will be reporting. If you do it today, then I think that it will start reporting first on the 31st of this month. But once you do that, it will report the 31st. Then by the next month, you will start reporting to the bureaus and it will start showing up on all 3 bureaus that you made your payments. It's all done in an app. You do have a live representative you can call. It is a legitimate site. I've used them about 3 years in the past. Now, 3 years in a row, 2 to 3 years, they are a legit company. Once you use that, that's already starting rebuilding history. And like I said, if you're a first-time user of Self, eventually after 3 or 4 on-time payments, you will be eligible for a secured credit card. That secured credit card will allow you to go up to like $500 or more. And really, you could transfer money from the credit builder loan, which is the same app that the secured card would be, into the card. And it will build up the card. And then you have 2 lines of credit. And then you can slowly start reintroducing things like an auto loan, a small one, or things like that so that you can build your credit. So make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be making a series of how my score jumped X, Y, and Z amount of points by literally consolidating and things you could be doing to do the same thing. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.